Okay.
All right.
Okay, so we are on Facebook and can start this recording. Okay, so let's start with Kirtan. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Aditya Prabhu, can you follow?
Yes. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Ashatami Sadhanime.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Satyatya Deshatarine.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय 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 श्री राधे श्याम. Okay, so which one would you like to do today?
Swati Mataji, maybe you can pick today.
Swati Mataji, you have any choice?
You can choose Prabhuji.
Huh?
You can choose Prabhuji.
Aritra Prabhu, you have any choice?
We could do Parama Karuna.
That we have already done.
Actually, we have already done. Bibhabari Shesho. I'm suggesting all the Bengali ones, but if you have another, I can do. But
No, it's
Bibhabari
okay.
Shesho.
Yeah, you can do it.
Achha, okay, let me. I have my songbook in front.
You can share the screen also, bro.
Achha, yeah, that I can do surely. Okay, let me. You're playing the kartal, huh?
Yeah. You have learned written or what?
Thoda.
Yeah.
Little bit.
Good.
One devotee was teaching me before the COVID started.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me first open the phone. Vaishnav songs, Kriti songs. Vibhavari Shesha. Got it. Share. Ajay, you have to make me the co-host or allow sharing so that I can share.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone see my screen? Okay. Okay. All right. Vibhavari Shesha Aloko Pravesha Nidra Chadi Utho Jiva
Vibhavari Shesha Alokha Pravesha Nidrachari Utajiva
Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva
Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva
Nishinga Vamana Shri Madhusudana Brajendra Nandana Shama
Nasimha Vamana Shri Madhusudana Rabindrandana Shama
Putana ghatana Kaitavashatana Jaya Dasarathi Rama
Utanagadana Kaitava Satana Yada Shakti Rama
Jashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara
Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara
Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Mana Bhuvana Sundara Bara
Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara
Ravanantakara Makhanata Gopijana Bakrahari
Ravana Tagara Makana Taskara Gopina Vastrari
Brojero Rakalo Gopavrinda Palo Chittahari Vamshidhari
Rajara Ragala Gopavinda Pada Chittahangi Varidari
Yogindra Bandhana Srinanda Nandana Prajajana Bhayahari
Ravindra Bandana Sinandanandana Rajajana Bhayari
Navina Nira Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamshi Bihari
Namina Nidadanu Pamanohara Moanavam Shurihari
Jashodanandana Kamsha Nishudana Nikunjarasha Bilashi
Yashodanandana Kamsani Sudana Nikunjara Savilasi
Kadamba Kanana Rasaparayana Brindavipina Nivashi
Kadambadana Rasaparayana Vrindavipina Divasi
Ananda Vardhana Prema Niketana Kulashara Jajaka Kama
Anandamardana Prema Nikedana Kulashara Jodaka Kama
Gopangana Gana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dhama
Govardhana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana
Jamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora
Yamuna Jivana Kali Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora
Nama Shudharasha Gao Krishna Jasha Rakho Bachana Manamora
Namasudara Gana Krishna Jaga Rakovachana Manamora
বিভাবরী শেষ আলোক প্রবেশ নিদ্রা ছাড়ি উঠ জীবা
Vimavadi Shesha Loka Pradesha Nidrachari Udajiva
বল হরি হরি মুকুন্দ মুরারি রাম কৃষ্ণ হয় গ্রীবা
Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna
জয়।
Jai. Nice.
Okay. Someone wants to read the translation?
You can read.
Okay. Translation. The night has come to an end and the light of dawn is entering. O Jiva soul, arise and give up your sleep. Chant the holy names of Lord Hari, who is the giver of liberation, the enemy of the Mura demon, the supreme enjoyer, the all attractive one. and the horse-headed incarnation, Hayagriva. Lord Hari, Krishna, incarnated as the half-man, half-lion Nrsimha. He appeared as a dwarf Brahmana named Upendra and as a killer of the Madhu demon. He is the beloved son of the king of Raja, Nanda Maharaj, and is blackish in complexion. He is the slayer of the Putana witch and the destroyer of the demon Kaitava. All glories to Lord Hari, who appeared as Lord Ram, the son of King Dashrath. He is the darling of Mother Yashoda, the giver of pleasure to the cows, land, and spiritual senses, and the protector of the cows. He is the Lord of Vrindavan forest, the gopis' beloved, the lover of Radhika, and the most beautiful personality in all the worlds. As Ramchandra, he brought about the end of the demoniac King Ravan. As Krishna, he stole the older gopis' butter. He stole the younger gopis' clothes while they were bathing in the Yamuna. He is the cowherd boy of Raja and the protector of the cowherd boys. He steals the hearts of all and always holds a flute. Lord Krishna is worshipped by the best of yogis and is the son of Nanda. He removes all the fears of the inhabitants of Braja. He is the color of a fresh rain cloud and his form is enchanting. When he wanders about playing his flute, he looks very charming. He is the son of Yashoda and the killer of King Kamsa, and he sports in the Rasa dance among the groves of Braja. Krishna engages in this Rasa dance underneath the Kadamba trees, and he resides in the forest of Vrindavan. He increases the ecstasy of his devotees. He is the reservoir of all love and is the transcendental Cupid who uses his flowered arrows to increase the loving desires of the gopis. He is the pleasure of the gopis' hearts and the abode of all wonderful qualities. Lord Krishna is the life of the river Yamuna. He is always absorbed in amorous pastimes, and he is the moon of the gopis' minds, who are like chakora birds that subsist only upon moonlight. O mind, obey these words of mine and sing the glories of Sri Krishna in the form of these holy names, which are full of nectarian mellows.
Sure.
This is a very nice, very sweet bhajan. And at the end, like this thing really looked. I mean, this statement, "O mind, obey the words of mine and sing the glories." Wait, did I stop sharing?
No, I stopped it. I thought maybe
Oh,
you are
okay,
not
okay,
referring to. You want to
okay,
start
okay.
again?
No, no, it's okay. I can read it. Obey these
Yeah.
words of mine and sing the glories of Sri Krishna in the form of these holy names, which are full of nectarian mellows. So actually, the entire bhajan describes all of the pastimes of the Lord, and then the plus pastimes of the Lord, how he looks, how charming he is, and then at the end it ends saying that sing the glories of Sri Krishna in the form of these holy names. So this kind of sort of summarizes that the holy name itself has the Lord's gun, roop, and lila, and hence it is nectarian. And it is only a matter of time that these get really revealed to us. As I was reading through that, that understanding came to me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. It was very nice, sweet. So
Yeah, it's
let's
a very
start
beautiful.
with our Prabhupada Lila class, 8th of July. So who can read it? I don't know if someone can share the screen. Nirvika Madhuri, is it possible for you to share the screen? Are you on the mobile or on laptop?
I'm on my mobile, Prabhuji.
So can you share the screen?
Uh,
8th
1
of
minute.
July.
I'll be able to share only till sometime. Is that okay?
Okay.
Just 1 minute. I go on which option in this screen?
Share screen option.
Okay. Everything that's displayed on your screen. Okay.
Hmm.
Are you able to see now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So, who would like to start reading? Swati Mataji, would you like to start? Swati Mataji, Hari Bol.
Can I read after some time?
Okay.
It was not safe.
Would you like to start? Paritra Prabhu, would you like to start reading?
Okay. ठीक है. Rameshwar. I remember when I was traveling with Prabhupada in 1977, I had stored up a lot of questions. Om Jnana Timirandhasya.
Yantimirandasya Jnananjalashilakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay.
Oh, Rameshwar. I remember when I was traveling with Prabhupada in 1977, I had stored up a lot of questions. Over the years, we heard Prabhupada say different things. One of the things that we had heard Prabhupada talk about was the future of the Hare Krishna movement and whether or not it would be like a governing body in the world. We had heard so many things that Prabhupada had said about the communist countries, and there was all this speculation. It was the height of the Cold War, whether or not there would actually be a war. Because at one point, Prabhupada said, if there was a war, it would start between the proxies of America and Russia, Pakistan and India. There was a lot of concern. Was there going to be a war? And how was the Hare Krishna movement really going to convince people so that it became a government? Prabhupada did say that the people would want a perfect government. The time will come when people are searching for leadership. They will want it so badly, and they will see that the Hare Krishna devotees are perfect. They have qualities, spiritual qualities, and are so obvious that they will turn to them. And there will be a Hare Krishna government. I asked Prabhupada how this would happen. Is it going to happen by a vote of population? Is it going to happen by a revolution? A small group of people takes over? There are different ways that governments change. People going to literally join the Hare Krishna religion, and that's how it's going to happen. I was thinking, why else would they vote for us? Prabhupada said that this would come about not in the way we thought. No, it's not necessarily that people are going to become Hare Krishna devotees, and therefore tens of millions, hundreds of millions of them are going to vote us into power. And it's not going to be a revolution by a small group. It is going to be by the mass population wanting it. However, they're not necessarily going to be Hare Krishna devotees, but they will desire it because something spiritual has awakened in them. And they can stay in their own faith. They can be Christians, Jews, or whatever they are. Prabhupada said that they would come. I said, Prabhupada, how is that going to happen? I was with Hari Sari at that time. Prabhupada said, that is the Sankirtan movement. He also elaborated that it was not just the chanting of the holy name, but book distribution. That was the real ultimate effect of our book distribution. We asked Prabhupada very specifically, book distribution created some kind of subtle spiritual atmosphere in the world. But even though we gave out millions of books, billions of people are not joining from taking those books. Prabhupada said, that is exactly what it was. The benefit of taking these books and hearing in public the chanting of the holy names on Harinam Sankirtan was and is creating and will create a spiritual environment that will awaken whatever their denomination. That was a powerful realization that Prabhupada shared with us about book distribution.
Yeah. Just by distributing books, this awakening will come about. So this is actually the significance of book distribution. And as Prabhupada describes that it is not just about becoming devotees. People may stay where they are at, but at the same time, this is not something difficult to understand because in the current situation also, we know that people, they would like to give their vote to the BJP because they think that the BJP is doing a lot for the country. And yeah, especially in terms of Vedic culture, in terms of preservation of Vedic culture, in terms of promoting Vedic culture, the BJP government is definitely very supportive. So in that sense, people would like to give vote to the BJP. So similarly, we can understand that here there will be a point when people will be frustrated, they will be in anxiety, and because a lot of adharmic activities will happen. So obviously they would look forward to vote someone who is very pious, who is very compassionate, and who is dharmic. So in that sense, we can understand. Now this will happen when we distribute a lot of books, right? So we, in the upcoming marathon, we are distributing Bhagavatam sets, and especially we're very fortunate that this time we got opportunity to distribute the Bhagavatam sets in the KM hospital, which was organized by my senior godbrother. And so now every year we will look forward to do that. So that way, just by receiving the Srimad Bhagavatam, now obviously, see, as a devotee, it is very difficult to digest Prabhupada's words, the purpose of Prabhupada, because they are very heavy. In the Bhagavatam, whatever Prabhupada has given, it is very heavy. And not just Prabhupada's words, but the Bhagavad itself is actually a very heavy teaching, according to the current time, place, circumstance. But I think that because the purity is there, and because people are looking for spiritual knowledge, they are anxious. Currently, situation is also very disappointing. So there is a chance that they may be able to understand, and they, the words of Prabhupada will penetrate their hearts also. So it is possible. And see, I can share that if I had read the Bhagavatam or Prabhupada books earlier, maybe I would have just laughed at it. That, oh, whatever he's saying does not make sense and it does not apply in this current scenario. But I think there was a right time for me to read Prabhupada book. And obviously, apart from the fact that he speaks a lot about Krishna being the supreme personality of Godhead, and how one should worship Krishna, and how Krishna is the only one who is having superior uh, aspects of Godhead. So all these things could be understood, but as far as other things are concerned, I think it's quite difficult to digest those things. So when the time is right, I think when you read Prabhupada books or Vaishnava literatures, then it makes sense to us because we have undergone that experience, and we have the realization that this material world is suffering, and there is a lot of irreligious activities also happening, and there's a lot of biasness also, a lot of injustice also happening in the world. So from that we can actually clearly understand that whatever Prabhupada has written makes sense to us. And obviously we also require the guidance of devotees, because without devotees guidance, we can misinterpret Prabhupada's statements. We can probably will not be able to understand also certain things, and we may also become critical about Prabhupada. So definitely the guidance of devotees is also required for that. Yeah, so hopefully very soon, this atmosphere is created, or maybe in the future it will be. Okay, so any question or comment?
Yeah, it's difficult to digest some of the things. I'll admit, like about the people. So, but why is there are two things here? So, Prabhupada initially the letter says that they will. He talks about the government. So there will be a government like this, but then later on it comes to that it'll like these books will awaken the souls. So was there ever, like, did Prabhupada ever want that devotees should try to set up try to run for offices, like for political positions, governmental positions?
Yeah.
Was there, did that
Yeah,
happen?
in fact, he did wanted, and he was very supportive and encouraging also to Amarendra Prabhu and Balwant Prabhu, his disciples. So and they were from Gainesville. I mean, probably they were serving in Gainesville that time, but they were the ones who wanted to enter the political area, and they wanted to take some position. And Prabhupada initially he had encouraged them a lot, but then I think later on what happened is there too much political influence was there, and it was also in one sense it was affecting their Krishna consciousness. So then Prabhupada later on he said that just forget about all these things, and yeah, we don't have to be a political member. So depending on the situation, Prabhupada actually reacted differently. So we understand one thing, that if taking a position like that in the government, and in fact, it's a wonderful position. In fact, we have devotees also who are in the parliament. I think one of the devotees from Delhi, Mahamantra Prabhu, I think he's a member of parliament, or maybe like he has similar position. So the idea is that Prabhupada said that if it does not hamper or affect your Krishna consciousness, then do it, because these are leadership positions, and gradually we can change the world through these positions. And I think it also depends. You have only one devotee in the parliament, and the rest of them are all non-devotees. Then obviously it can definitely affect our consciousness. But if you have like 20% or 10% also, then it will make a lot of difference. So it all depends. And so yeah, so basically Prabhupada wanted all the devotees to take leadership position, not necessarily political positions, but any type of leadership position Prabhupada always encouraged. He wanted us to become leaders so that we can lead the world into Krishna consciousness. Yeah, but then obviously, it all depends whether it is affecting our Krishna consciousness or not. How much time it is taking away from our sadhana. How much? So if you give up your sadhana, then obviously what is the use of taking that position? So depending like that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's continue.
Patita Pavan. They were building the World Trade Center at the time. Srila Prabhupada was especially unimpressed with artificial nuts and bolts society that has gigantic skyscrapers and yet no means to maintain the people that live inside. Somebody said, they are the world's tallest buildings over there, Prabhupada. He said, they will all be destroyed. The World Trade Center. And in fact, astrologically, they were destroyed under the nakshatra that Prabhupada was born on, Mrigashira nakshatra. Prabhupada often revealed that he could see the future, but he did in kind of an oblique fashion.
Okay. So this is actually really interesting. Definitely Prabhupada predicted something and it happened. But certain times, whatever Prabhupada said, it's not necessarily that everything happened. Like there is one instance where Prabhupada said that war is certain. War between these countries and other countries will be certain. But then the war didn't happen. And then one of Prabhupada's disciples asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, you said that what is going to happen, but it didn't happen. So Prabhupada said that actually Krishna changed his mind, right? So yeah, so when we go through Prabhupada's teachings, when we come across these kind of things, especially statements which are prophesying about the future, then we have to be careful. It's not that we have to take literally what Prabhupada said. We have to accept it completely. And so it has to be supported by facts also. Because Prabhupada's main job is to give us spiritual knowledge and to take us back to Godhead. But at the same time, Prabhupada was also mystic, in himself, because he did display mystic potencies, mystic siddhis, whenever it was required. And he was also able to predict certain things, which also came out to be true, right? But we should not focus too much on that. We should only focus on the spiritual aspect of Prabhupada as an acharya, as a guru. So the main role of a guru is to connect us with Krishna. So that way we have to treat Prabhupada on an absolute position. But in terms of materialistic reality, it can be a relative position also. Okay. Next.
I remember another thing that Srila Prabhupada told me during that time that is very important. He talked about the coming of unemployment in the Kali Yuga. We are seeing this now, and this is 2009, almost 2010. It is a bad economic time, but Prabhupada was saying that as the Kali Yuga progresses, more and more there will be unemployment. Prabhupada said we must be ready to take these unemployed people into our movement on our farms. Prabhupada said that we need farm communities that can grow food. He predicted that 1 millions of people would be coming to our Hare Krishna farms because they are unemployed. And we must accept them. We must feed them. We must let them live there, and they will gradually become spiritualized. We will put them to work. They will get their food, and there will be prasadam. They will hear something about Krishna, and they will gradually, by the millions, become devotees.
Yeah. So 2009, yeah, so that's quite recent actually. In fact, I graduated in 2008, and that time there was a very heavy recession. So I can relate with that, but I think the current situation is worse than 2009 also, because it's a long-term pandemic actually. Okay.
Letter to Brian Marvin, Vrindavan, 15 March 1974. Dear Brian Marvin, please accept my blessings. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your long letter dated February 14, 1974, and I have examined the contents. Your first question is, how can the Vedas be considered eternal since they contain many historical references? But history is also eternal. For example, 6 months ago there was summer. Now there is a new season, and in another 6 months, summer again. This calculation of 1 year is history. But the summer and winter seasons are also eternal. There is a saying, history repeats itself. Why make a distinction between history and eternity? Things are happening eternally. This is history. You have asked why the four Vedas are written in a different type of Sanskrit from classical. This is not extraordinary. In India, Sanskrit pronunciation is different in the north and south, and there are many different dialects. So the Vedas may also be represented with some differences within. You have further questioned how the Vedas can be 3000 BC in age. Modern historians cannot pick up when the Vedas came into existence. From our historical references, however, we understand the Vedic knowledge has been current since the time of creation, but the knowledge was originally accepted in disciplic succession from spiritual master to disciple. Later, when Vyasdeva found the people's memory was decreasing, he wrote it into language. Otherwise, it was existing by Shruti or hearing. So when this hearing began, there is no history. He simply recorded the Shruti, and there is a question of change. We have to understand Vedic knowledge on the authority of the disciplic succession, not from mental speculators who are simply rascals and have no interest into the Vedic knowledge. You mentioned Shankara, but Shankara hid so many things. So it was no wonder he did not mention Bhagavatam. There are great authorities of Bhagavatam, and it is they we have to follow. Similarly, the Bhagavatam is mentioned in an earlier Puran, means that the whole language is Shruti. Also, the Bhagavatam may not have been written, the tradition was there. May not have been written, the tradition was there. It is written by Sridhar Swami, quoting the Puranas, that the practice was to write out the Bhagavatam by hand and present it to a learned man. The Bhagavatam we have is the same Bhagavatam. It was originally spoken in 4 shlokas by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Lord Brahma. All these descriptions are in my books, and I request you to read them very carefully, as you are as you are a learned scholar. I appreciate your humble attitude, and I have a good report of your activities from Jagdish Ravi. Please go on increasing in Krishna consciousness. You will find all spiritual understanding and happiness, not only for you, but for whomever you meet. Your ever well wishes to the Vedanta Swami.
Okay. So any question or comment on this? Okay, next.
Lakshmi Nrsimha. Being a part of the Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan party, we often go to meet Srila Prabhupada. This time, Kamal Krishna Maharaj wanted to give him a donation from the party, $100,000 in cash. He had a stack of $1,000 bills, which I don't think they make anymore, and they were supposedly 100 of them. Someone said, Sri Prabhupada, your disciples on Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtan party would like to give you this donation of $100,000. Sri Prabhupada said, oh, then Tamal Krishna Maharaj gave Sri Prabhupada the stock of bills. Sri Prabhupada took the stack of bills like a card dealer, put them close to his ear, and he fanned them. It made a fur sound. Prabhupada looked up Tamal and said, 100,000. Tamal got this look of panic on his face because before meeting Sri Prabhupada, he realized he had only 99,000. So he had a devotee run to the bank and change another $1,000 into $1,000 bill, but he forgot to put it into the stack. Our Sri Prabhupada did that little first sound of panning the stack of bills. I will remember the last minute bank transaction and pulled out the other $1,000 bill from his pocket and gave it to Sri Prabhupada. What was the thing here?
I mean, Prabhupada is, again, he's displaying his mystic potency. Just by hearing the sound, he could actually understand that it's only $99,000 bill. So another 1,000 is remaining. So see, amazing, how Prabhupada actually employed his mystic potencies also. So you cannot actually understand Prabhupada's bhav and his personality completely, because different times, he's manifesting different personalities. So it's very difficult to understand someone who is for the love of God, especially someone who is Nitya Siddha. Okay, next.
Lakshmi Moni. While we were there in Delhi, the house where we stayed had a tiny servant's kitchen. It had numbers up on the wall with lights so that people could press a button in their room and the light would go on. So the servant would know what room to go to. I don't know how to cook at all, but somehow or other I got the service of cooking for Prabhupada. It was Nityananda's appearance day. So as a devotee, so Prabhupada was going to eat breakfast that day, a fast day, because it was really, that day, and they said, no, because it was a fast day. But at 9 o'clock, Prabhupada's light went on. I went to Prabhupada's room empty-handed. Prabhupada said, where's my breakfast? I said, Srila Prabhupada, the devotees told me that it's Nityananda's appearance day, so that you would be fasting. He didn't look happy. He said to me, fruit and milk is also fasting. From that response, I realized that Prabhupada did the needful. What had to be done for his service to go on, he did it. We tend to be more constrained by rules and regulations and thus not be able to find the balance between not throwing the rules and regulations out of the window and at the same time not to live behind iron bars. Prabhupada didn't have a hard time with that at all.
Yeah, so important. We are sometimes, we tend to be very strict with the rules and regulations, but we forget the higher purpose and the higher principle. So now here, Prabhupada definitely had set a very high standard of fasting, and especially he also recommended that devotees can do Nirjala fasting during Ekadashis or some festivals. But here we see that Prabhupada himself is having fruits, right? And that is also fasting. So the idea is that we can understand that preaching or service is actually more important. It takes precedence over everything else. And if the fasting is coming in between in our service and preaching, then we have to compromise on that. So we have to do the needful. This exactly happened. A similar instance happened when Prabhupada had, like, I think you are quite aware, we have discussed this many times earlier, that Prabhupada set a high standard for observing Ram Navami also. And he said that devotees can break the fast just as they break the fast for Lord Chaitanya's appearance, which is in the dusk, I think dusk time or the moonrise, probably. Moonrise for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the same thing he recommended for Ram Navami also. But one time Prabhupada, when he was personally present during Ram Navami's time, he broke the fast at 12 o'clock, and then they had regular grain prasadam. So it's quite confusing many times. Prabhupada said different standards, and he said different things at different times. And so, what we can actually understand from his Lilas is that it's not necessary to actually uh, focus specially on rules and regulations, because the purpose is to be absorbed in Krishna and to serve Krishna. So if that is we are able to achieve that, then I think we are okay. But by fasting, if our mind is not able to meditate on Krishna, remember Krishna, or serve the Lord, then the purpose is not solved, right? It's not achieved. So here we can understand that Prabhupada set a very practical example. Okay, next. You can go to Rajiv Prabhu has he had made the pointer. But it was 9 July. Yeah, it was 9 July. So
Lakshmani, in Los Angeles in 1974, I was pregnant. Jagdish was coming to see Prabhupada from Toronto because there was one boy who wanted to get initiated and he couldn't cross the Canadian border because he was a draft lodger. So Jagdish had brought his letter for initiation into Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada said, "You should perform this initiation ceremony. Do you know how?" Jagdish said, "No." Then Prabhupada instructed him at that time. Prabhupada instructed someone. You should give him instruction. Then he said to Jagadish at that time, "You should learn how to do the ceremony." He said, "Just like your wife is now pregnant. Before she was a young girl and couldn't have children of her own. But now that she's mature, she's having children of her own. So in the same way, you will become mature eventually and you will have children of your own. And you will have to perform this initiation ceremony." He was telling him then that eventually this would be the way it will be done. And that was in 1974.
yeah, so the indication of that the Ritvik currently the Ritvik philosophy is not bona fide. The Prabhupada actually wanted devotees to initiate also, not just give siksha, but diksha also, right?
Right,
Okay,
right.
next.
Lakshmi Nrsimha. Another time we were working in Central Park with Srila Prabhupada and we came up to an art museum where there was an abstract sculpture. The devotees like to engage Prabhupada in conversation. So one of the devotees said to Srila Prabhupada, "See Srila Prabhupada, abstract art. This is their attempt at formlessness." Prabhupada said, "But they are using the form to get formlessness." Oh, just how foolish. They were using steel girders that they twisted up to make something undecipherable in the name of art. Prabhupada made that astute observation. They want formlessness, they want abstract, but they are using form to make formlessness. Just see how foolish.
Yeah. Okay, next.
Letter to Shyam Sundar. Dear Shyam Sundar Brahmachari, please accept my greetings. I beg to acknowledge the receipt of your letter of 3rd of April, 1974. Yeah, it's April. Okay. I have not visited Jagannath Puri because my men are not allowed to see the deity. When you arrange that we can visit the temple with my disciples, then I can come immediately. Now I am in India up until May 15th. Then I'm going to Europe to visit in France, Switzerland, Italy, Germany, etc. Then I will come back and remain until the end of August and then go again to England and the US. This is my program. I am still here until the 15th of May. I'm going to Hyderabad on the 18th of April. Okay. And then going to Tirupati. So from there, I can go to Jagannath Puri if arrangements can be made. It is very regrettable that these European and American boys who are purely Vaishnav and who follow all the principles are not allowed by the rascals to enter the temple. As stated in the Padma Puran, Archaya Vishnu Shiladhar Gurushu Naramati Vaishnave Jati Buddhir. I do not know what makes the management take this attitude. If you can remove this restriction, you will be of great service to the Gaudiya Vaishnava community. According to Shastra, anyone who wears tilaka and shikha and kanti over and above the Vaishnava dress or Vaishnava sannyasi must be accepted, especially when chanting Hare Krishna mantra with bead bags. Kindly convince them and induce them to follow these Vaishnavas to enter Jagannath temple. One friend in Orissa has offered to give us land in Bhubaneswar, and I have desire to construct a big Jagannath temple there for our men. If we are not allowed to enter Jagannath temple in Puri, in Jagannath temple, people come from all the Indian states. Now, when Jagannath has expanded his jurisdiction over the world, why the so-called servants of Jagannath should not allow them to see the Lord of the universe? I don't know their philosophy. We shall see that your copies of Back to Godhead are dispatched to you in conclusion. In conclusion, I shall come to Jagannath Puri as you have heard kindly insisted, but only when allow entry to all my disciples, wherever well wishers.
Yeah, Prabhupada was very stern about this, and there's a couple of letters also by Prabhupada. In fact, he said that if they do not allow my disciples or Vaishnavas, then Jagannath will come out of the temple and go somewhere else, or join one of our temples. So Prabhupada was very heavy with the Pandas. Okay, next.
But that it still didn't change the situation, right? Even till date, our Western devotees are not allowed to enter.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Prabhupada had a see now Prabhupada showed his what do you say? I mean, Prabhupada definitely showed his conviction, and he never budged from it. He was never willing to budge from it. But you'll see that in the past, there were devotees who had spoken against the Pandas, and they were punished for that. So for example, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he had criticized one of the Pandas. During the Odhan Sashti festival, he saw that one of the Pandas is offering starch cloth to Jagannath. And so he criticized him. And then later, Lord Jagannath came to his dream, Jagannath Baldev, and they started slapping him in the dream. And then he disclosed this to Swarup Damodar Goswami. So this pastime is given in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And then later we also know that Ramanujacharya, he also visited Jagannath temple, and he also started finding faults with the worship. So then he went, I think when he went for sleep, he was automatically transported to one of the South India regions, directly from Jagannath Puri. So when he woke up, he found himself in South India instead of Jagannath Puri, and he was directly transported. So, but here we see that Prabhupada actually spoke very heavily, and still Prabhupada was very firm, and nothing happened to him. In fact, whenever there is a, as Krishna rightly claims in the Bhagavad Gita, that if Krishna promises something, he can break that promise. But when the pure devotee of Krishna will promise something, then that promise will never be broken. So we are just waiting for the time when they will allow our ISKCON devotees to enter the temple, whatever Vaishnavas to enter the temple, or a time will come when Jagannath will move outside Jagannath Puri and will go to somewhere else. So let's see. Let's wait and observe this.
Lakshmi Nrsimha, in the final days before Srila Prabhupada's departure, in the final days before Srila Prabhupada's departure, my then GVC of Adi Keshav wanted me to have some darshan with Srila Prabhupada. I had been moved from the New York temple. I had taken over the Puerto Rico temple as the new president. Adi Keshav arranged a darshan for me, and Prabhupada was very frail and very weak at that time, but extremely lucid. They rolled Srila Prabhupada on the side of the bed, and I sat on the side of the bed. Prabhupada asked, "So what is your name?" I said, "Prabhupada, I am Lakshmi Das. I am the temple president of your temple in Puerto Rico." I'm the temple president of your temple in Puerto Rico. He said, oh, Puerto Rico. I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. It is a beautiful island in the Caribbean. Like Prabhupada didn't know, but I went to explain Puerto Rico. I heard that Srila Prabhupada really liked Hawaii because of the climate and fruits. I said, Srila Prabhupada, it's very much like Hawaii, but this is on the east coast. I told him that the weather is always beautiful and with tropical breezes and wonderful fruits and flowers. I said, I think it would be a very good place for you to come and recuperate. I said, it's a very quiet place. I said, it's a very quiet place. It's very quiet and the devotees will take very nice care of you. Prabhupada said, oh, that sounds very nice. He said, I will come to your East Coast Hawaii. Chuckles. I was literally thrilled. I didn't stay right till the end of Prabhupada's departure. However, because Puerto Rico was a new temple and I was in a bit of anxiety, I thought that Prabhupada might want me to be doing my service rather than hanging around. I think that was the biggest mistake of my life. I should have stayed. But I went back, and when I got back to Puerto Rico, after being with Srila Prabhupada, the devotees were doing lots of kirtan and praying for Srila Prabhupada's recovery during that time, and therefore Prabhupada left the planet on November 14th, 1977. I received a phone call from a devotee who was living on the West Coast. He came in contact with another senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada in the San Francisco Bay Area who had a murti of Srila Prabhupada. Apparently, Prabhupada gave this devotee permission while he was still present on the planet because he was having so much difficulty to have a murti carved of Prabhupada and told him to keep this murti with you. The white marble murti was maybe 8 to 10 inches high. So I got a call from this other devotee who said that he had been to that devotee's house and he wasn't worshipping that murti at all. Worse that he was using the murti as an incense holder. Oh, why? It was very painful for him to see and for me to hear, because he knew me from New York. He said, if I get that murti somehow or other, will you be able to take it to Puerto Rico? I said, absolutely. But I said, is he going to give it to you? He said, if I have to steal it, I will steal it. In January of 1978, I got a call from a major airlines that said, there is a crate here for ISKCON of Puerto Rico. I went and picked up the crate, but put it in the middle of the temple room, opened the crate and removed all the stuffing. The whole phone conversation about Prabhupada's murti had slipped my mind, but there was this beautiful murti of Srila Prabhupada. At that time, I remembered the words of Srila Prabhupada, I will come to your East Coast, Hawaii. I realized that Prabhupada, through his manifestation of this murti form, had kept his promise, and there he was. And to this day, that beautiful murti of Srila Prabhupada is still being worshipped in Puerto Rico. Somehow we missed that murti.
Yeah.
We did go to Puerto Rico temple. I
When?
didn't know the history. Back in 2012.
Acha.
Yeah, but I didn't know this fact. Then I would have actually gone looking for that murti particularly.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is actually how Prabhupada appears after his disappearance. Because I remember there was one time a discussion about how does Prabhupada appear after his disappearance. And this is one of the form Prabhupada actually appears. So it's not necessarily that Prabhupada only appears through his Vani, but he can also appear in different forms. And he can also appear in his Murti form. So it's all non-different from the original personality of Srila Prabhupada. Okay, next. Swati Madari, would you like to continue reading?
Yeah, actually, that will be good because I'm beginning to
Yes,
cook.
Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, can someone share now? I'll just have to give my earphones to my father, so I don't think I'll be able to coordinate it properly.
Okay, actually, we won't be able to share because I think every one of us is on laptop.
Okay, let me try 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Swati Mataji.
Yes. Letter to Bhavananda, Jai Pataka, Hyderabad, Mayapur. Dear Bhavananda and Jai Pataka Maharajas, please accept my blessings. I am in due receipt of your letter of April 15, 1974, and I thank you. My point of view is this: whatever money you require, I am already sending and will continue without hesitation to send. But I must be satisfied the money is properly spent. The first point is, if I send you money for a certain purpose, it should be spent for that purpose. Money for land must be spent for land purchase. If I send money for constructing of a kitchen, it must be spent for that. Also, if you purchase land, it must be properly utilized. It is no use purchasing land to be wasted by costly laborers. If you actually produce some grains or vegetables, then there is necessity for further money for maintenance. For maintenance, we require 100 rupees per head. Sorry. Yeah. For maintenance, we require 100 rupees per head without any risk for purchasing lands and cultivating the same. I understand they are only 20 men they are present, so at most 2000 rupees is necessary for maintenance. I am not competent to understand everything concerning what you plan to do, but that is my rough estimation. You have tried to explain by long letter, which I have not gone through yet. In the meantime, go on go on the above principle. Money spent must be used for that purpose intended. That will keep it very clear. I know you are working hard and sincerely. I have no business to criticize you, but as head of the institution or your spiritual master, it is my duty to find out your faults. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented himself as faulty before his spiritual master. To remain faulty before the spiritual master is a good qualification, so he is subjected to rectification. But if one thinks he is all perfect, then there is no scope for rectification. Don't be sorry when I find fault. That is my primary duty. Chanakya Pandit says one must find faults with disciples and sons. It is good for them. I hope things are going nicely and progressively. The money is with Giriraj. He has spent rupees 50,000 in 2 installments. The balance is kept with him and you will get it timely. Hope you find yours in good health.
Yeah, so actually, this is a very important principle. That's why every devotee, they must receive correction and rectification also. Um, Otherwise, very difficult to advance in spiritual life. So see, these are all like very important considerations, because many times, we are thinking of going back to God and all that, but we are not thinking how many times someone has corrected us or we have accepted correction, rectification. And then, like there are different devotees, they have different good qualities. Like generally, see, the problem what happens is, when you are preaching or when you are a leader or a guru, then uh, there are two aspects of that particular personality. One is that we know that we should always try to see good quality in all the Vaishnavas, but on the other hand, the other aspect is that the guru is also training and he's also correcting us. He's also purifying us basically. So while purifying us, he has to find out faults, and that's the duty of the spiritual master. So if he does not do it, then the disciple won't be purified, and they won't be able to advance in spiritual life also. So there are certain things that a guru will manifest different aspects to his personality. So one aspect will be that he will always be encouraging, he will always be supportive, he will always try to enhance our Krishna consciousness. And the second aspect is that he will also try to find out faults. So it's a balanced approach, and you will also see how Prabhupada actually said so many times that he actually praised all his disciples, and he said that you are all sent by my spiritual master, and so I am blessed to have the association of all of you, and you are all my prabhus, you are all my masters, I'm your servant. So now in this particular context, Prabhupada is manifesting his humility, and he is trying to see the good qualities in all the Vaishnavas, irrespective of their many shortcomings and anarthas. On the other hand, on the other side, when Prabhupada is chastising the disciples, he's acting on the level of Guru. So he's correcting so that disciples actually can get purified, right? So sometimes, we also may come across certain situations like this, where spiritual master is glorifying us, he's praising us, he's encouraging us. On the other hand, and then he's also, uh, because of his humility, or he may also start praising us in such a way that he considers us to be like his masters and all that, right? But on the other hand, we'll also see that he is chastising us. So how do we, understand this? So we do understand this by understanding the personality of Srila Prabhupada and understanding the personality of a Vaishnava. So Chanakya Pandit also says that, in order to make progress, in order for the disciples to make progress, the spiritual master or the guru, he has to find faults with them. Because obviously we are conditioned, we have so many anarthas, and the spiritual master is offering us to Krishna, who is completely pure. So he's also going to purify us. And now, so, like for example, some devotees, they, many different devotees, they have different qualities, wonderful qualities. Some devotees maybe they have taste for hearing, they are very enthusiastic to hear, but they are not inclined towards service. Some devotees are inclined towards service, but they are not probably so enthusiastic to hear. Some devotees, they want to serve, but they don't want to spend money in Krishna consciousness, in Krishna service. So like, and then, some devotees, they will accept certain things, but they will not accept other things that is instructed by the spiritual master. So we'll see that there are different grades of devotees at different levels of consciousness, and the spiritual master will guide them or instruct them accordingly. But while guiding them, he has to also chastise them, he has to also correct them, so that they will always remember one thing, that you can never see the spiritual master as an ordinary person, even though he is ordinarily dealing with you. This is actually the manifestation, and that's why Prabhupada also quotes from the scriptures that you cannot see Vaishnavas with the material eyes. Okay, and you cannot, the Guru, you cannot see with your material vision. You have to understand from transcendental realm. So different devotees, they have different abilities, capacities, levels of advancement, and the spiritual master will definitely guide them accordingly. But it is very important that each and every devotee will come to a standard where they are accepting and they have faith, complete faith in the spiritual master. It's not that half and, like the half and logic, where you only accept half the things and half the things you reject. So in order to completely make you surrender to Krishna, the spiritual master will try his best to purify you, and so that you can gradually surrender to the Lord. So there are different devotees, they have different conceptions also of surrender, and they are probably not understood what is actually real surrender. They are not able to understand many things. So this is actually the duty of the spiritual master. It's a very tough position, it's very difficult. For someone like Srila Prabhupada, it is probably not so difficult. Even Prabhupada had a tough time, in the sense that although everyone saw Prabhupada as an extraordinary personality, someone who is completely pure devotee, even when Prabhupada, instructed them, it's not necessary that each and every disciple follow Prabhupada completely. So when we speak of Prabhupada, what to speak of ordinary conditioned devotees like us? When we are trying to take a position of leader or a teacher or a guru, then we can just imagine, not everyone is going to surrender, not everyone is going to follow, and each and every devotee, they have different degrees of consciousness, right? But I think so. If you ask that, what is the criteria for going back to Godhead, I think this is actually the most important criteria, which is that you are, even though you are not surrendered at this point of time for a particular instruction or for a particular thing that the spiritual masters want you to do, but that should be, you should be willing to surrender gradually over a period of time. Or if you are not able to follow one instruction of spiritual master, you should be able to follow at least the other 4 to 5 instructions that he has given. Okay, so majority of the instructions should be followed, and initially we may start from following one instruction, but then finally we should be in a situation where we are able to completely please the spiritual master. So we are able to follow all the instructions of the spiritual master. There is a, this is actually what makes, there's a difference between a pure devotee and a neophyte devotee. A neophyte devotee will only focus on those instructions which are uh, which he likes to follow, and a pure devotee will also follow the instructions which is not liking it, but just because out of love for his guru, and thinking, considering that as an obligation, he will do it. Or obviously as we advance it becomes natural, but still any sincere devotee, they would want to surrender to the spiritual master ultimately, and without that there is no question of thinking about going back to it also. Yeah, so this is a very important element. I mean, personally, I don't feel that anyone can go back to world if they are not willing to get rectification also, right? So, okay, any question or comment on this? Okay, next.
Lakshmi Mama. Srila Prabhupada was so compassionate that he sacrificed everything. He renounced renunciation to come to America. We all say, let me go to Vrindavan, let me go to Govardhan, let me just chant and hear. But Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan and he was just chanting and hearing. And at 69 years old, he went out of his way, struggled like anything to be able to come to America to give Krishna consciousness. I was always impressed with his tolerance because in the beginning he did such strange things. In Toronto, we were cooking for the deities little prasadam. Because we had little deities, so we were cooking the little prasadam, little puris, little samosa. We wrote to Srila Prabhupada and he said, "What are you doing? Krishna eats like a huge 60-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy." In Los Angeles, he was watching devotees going in and out of the altar while the offering was being performed. He was asking what was going on. They were constantly bringing chapatis onto the altar because when Prabhupada would eat, they would bring chapatis back and forth so they would be hot for him. Similarly, we were bringing chapatis back and forth on the altar. He said, "No, no, no." When we were in Buffalo, we were bathing the deities every 2 weeks, and we would bring them into the office and put Lord Jagannath into a bowl of hot, soapy water and dry them with a towel from the Brahmachari ashram. When Prabhupada heard that, he said, "Everything you are doing is very nice. You should just do it more often." He tolerated us for so long until we got up to the speed. Now most devotees see everything is beautiful, beautiful garlands and everything is so together, but it wasn't always that like that. Prabhupada was so amazingly compassionate and tolerant and willing to do almost anything to give us Krishna consciousness. That was one thing that tremendously impressed me about Srila Prabhupada. It was also amazed I was also amazed by his relationship, his connection with Krishna. Krishna for him was everywhere. He didn't need to construct a facility to have a relationship with Krishna. He constructed facilities for other reasons, but for him, he had a relationship with Krishna wherever he was, and he was so relaxed about it. However, we were not very relaxed about it. It was very worrisome. Even now, we are very detailed oriented and everything is a tense time. But for Srila Prabhupada, his relationship with Krishna was as natural as anything, and everything he did was very sweet. Once we were in Los Angeles in the garden during a meeting of pujaris. Lal Krishna Prabhu was there, who was making jewelry at that time to sell for the deities. He wanted to start a business. Prabhupada told him he shouldn't make a business selling things for the deities. He could only charge for the materials. And there was also some tension because some people were thinking that Radharani should never have a hair show because Prabhupada was told us to bind her hair and that chaste women didn't leave their hair loose. Lal Krishna was asking leading questions to Srila Prabhupada. He asked, "Isn't it that Radharani is the most chaste woman?" Prabhupada said, "Yes." Then he asked, "Chaste women never let their hair show, isn't it, Srila Prabhupada?" Prabhupada said, "Yes." Then he said, "So Radharani should never let her hair show." Prabhupada said, "No." And then Prabhupada closed his eyes, waved his hand over his head from left to right and said, "Sometimes Radharani likes to wear her hair like this." And he said, "With flowers in it." He closed his eyes and said, "Anyway, you should ask Srimati Radharani what she likes." So that was Prabhupada's relationship with Krishna. It was, let's ask Krishna what he likes. For us, it's not like that. But that was another thing about Srila Prabhupada that was already wonderful, that was really wonderful, is that Prabhupada was with Krishna all the time. He didn't have to construct anything to be with Krishna. I was also impressed with Prabhupada's sense of humor. Even if he got really angry with you about something, a few minutes later he'd be willing to laugh at it. Like when he held at me about the eyes, I was devastated. But the next minute he was on that something else and it really didn't matter anymore. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy.
Yeah. So much Prabhupada tolerated, and such a infinite compassion he had for devotees. Amazing. Okay, next.
Akuti. I got to do some service like cleaning Srila Prabhupada's apartment and got a taste of what submissiveness is. He actually demanded submissiveness. Somewhere out of the deep depths of my heart came a little bit of submissiveness after many years of being an independent person. This is what created that faith in Srila Prabhupada, that actually we are servants. That solved the problem of who we are, where we are, and I decided I was never going to leave. From then on, it's just been constant service because he convinced us that we were servants of the servants of the servant. He was definitely the person to serve because he had all the answers and he had the engagement for us, the positive alternative that we didn't have before. I always thought I was spiritual, but I had no engagement in spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada was so kind to immediately engage us. The minute I walked in the temple, "Can you polish the brass? Can you make a garland?" I didn't even know what a garland was. That is what was so fulfilling. That was the taste, the little nectar that he planted in all of us. That service to Krishna. And just by being submissive, then you got that nectar. And the more submissive you become, the more dependent you become on Srila Prabhupada. And thus the more nectar you would get. That is the most convincing factor that keeps us in the moment. Because Prabhupada had given us so much service to do, and there's still so much more to do. That whole other 50% of Varnashram is there waiting for us to do.
Yeah. Okay. So ultimately, the more submissive we become, the more we get the mercy of Prabhupada also. Okay. Next.
Samapriya. During the Ratha Yatra festival in San Francisco in 1975, Srila Prabhupada was giving a class about who is qualified to be punished. He said, according to someone's mental state and the crime that he has performed, he is brought in front of the magistrate and then he is judged. He said that children are not punishable. The devotees in the audience cheered. Then he said, women are also not punishable, and everyone cheered even more. Then all of a sudden a child cried, and Bhalaswa stood up and said, okay, all children out of the temple. Prabhupada said, no, no, that is okay. Children are not punishable. Everyone laughed, and then Prabhupada said, so also women are not punishable, but don't take advantage. And then everyone laughed again. Prabhupada said, children are not punishable, women are not punishable, saintly people are not punishable, and old men are not punishable, and cows are not punishable. He concluded by saying, so in this assembly, no one is punishable. Everybody cheered even louder.
Haribol. So all of us are not punishable, and we will not go to Yamraj, Yamloka. Any question on this? Okay, let's continue. Okay.
Vrindavaneshwari. One thing that I remember was a one-liner, and I just loved the way Prabhupada worded it. Because sometimes he would use words or a sentence in a way that no one else spoke. He said, if you chant 16 rounds daily, your deathlessness is guaranteed. I never heard such a word, deathlessness. I still think about that because it was such a beautiful way of saying it. Deathlessness is guaranteed.
Okay. Yeah. Any question? Yeah, Swati Mother, you can continue.
Yes, Prabhanu. They were simple experiences that may seem mundane, but just nothing is mundane with Prabhupada. One time I was on my way to the bathroom when all of a sudden the door opened and Srila Prabhupada came out. I didn't know what to do as there was no place to offer obeisances. Prabhupada said, Jai. That's all he said. There's a section of the Bhagavatam where Jadi Yogi Rishabhadev laid down in his own stool and his own urine because it was like a lotus flowers. It smelled like lotus flowers because he was so pure. When I walked in that bathroom after Prabhupada used it, it was like flowers. There was all overwhelmingly beautiful scent in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Jai.
Yes. So again, we can see how Prabhupada is also displaying mystic potency here. So similar to Jad Bharat, to Rishabh Dev. Recently, I just gave the overview of the fifth canto, and we have already discussed about Lord Rishabh Dev, how he was rolling in his own stool, and still the entire body was fragrant, and it was completely pure. It was not even contaminated. So this is actually how Prabhupada's body also was in a similar way. Next, next.
Rupanuga. My dear Rupanuga Maharaj, please accept my blessings. I beg to acknowledge the receipt of your letter of April 17 from Washington, D.C., and I have very carefully noted the contents. Regarding Mayapur, as you have begun, this program should be regularly followed once a year. Meet in Mayapur and check out activities for the year, and then every year meet and see how far things are being done, and if necessary, make changes for the responsible GBC and the presidents, etc. The meeting is very valuable and must be carried out regularly every year. But one thing is that at Mayapur last time, most of the time was spent discussing, but no program was made firm for the year. For example, our Tamal Krishna Goswami never proposed to go to USA at the meeting, but now he has decided to go back to the USA. Of course, you can go back, but if the matter is discussed at the meeting, then a GBC would be taken and then would have selected a replacement. Now, this replacement I have to bother. It is no difficult for me, but why wasn't there discussion of the meeting? Now, Karandhara has written asking to come back, and I have called him to come to Bombay, and if possible, he can be engaged in the GBC for India. You are right about Sridhara Maharaj's geniusness, but in my opinion, he is the best of the lot. He is my old friend, and at least he executes the regulative principles of devotional service. I do not wish to discuss about activities of my god brothers, but it is a fact that they have no life for preaching work. All are satisfied with a place for residence in the name of a temple. They engage disciples to get foodstuffs by transcendental devices and eat and sleep. They have no idea or brain how to broadcast the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My Guru Maharaj used to lament many times for this reason, and he thought if one man at least had understood the principle of preaching, then his mission would achieve success. In the latter days of my Guru Maharaj, he was very disgusted. Actually, he left this world earlier, otherwise, he would have continued to live for more years. Still, he requested his disciples to form a strong governing body for preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He never recommended anyone to be Acharya of the Gaudiya Math. But Sridhara Maharaj is responsible for disobeying his orders of Guru Maharaj, and he and others who are already dead unnecessarily thought that they must be one Acharya. If Guru Maharaj would have seen someone who was qualified at that time to be an Acharya, he would have mentioned. Because on the because on the night before he passed away, he talked of so many things, but never mentioned an Acharya. His idea was Acharya was not to be nominated amongst the governing body. He asked openly, you make a GBC and conduct the mission. So his idea was against the members of the GBC who would come out successful, and self-effulgent Acharya would be automatically selected. So Sridhar Maharaj and his two associate gentlemen unauthorizedly selected one Acharya, and later it proved a failure. The result is now everyone is claiming to be a Acharya, even though they may be a Kanishta Adhikari with no ability to preach. In some of the camps, the Acharya is being changed 3 times a year. Therefore, we may not commit the same mistake in our ISKCON camp. Actually, amongst my god brothers, no one is qualified to become Acharya. So it is better not to mix with my god brothers very intimately, because instead of inspiring our students and disciples, they may sometimes pollute them. This attempt was made previously by them, especially Madhav Maharaj and Tirth Maharaj and Bhavan Maharaj, but somehow or other I have saved the situation. This is going on. We shall be very careful about them and not mix with them. This is my instruction to all. They cannot help us in our movement, but they are very competent to harm our natural progress. So we must be very careful about them. Our students who are taking this political program must be fixed in one point that human society, unless divided into four classes and divisions, is animal society. Among the animals, there is no intelligence for self realization or how to make life successful. In human life, intelligence is better than animals. Therefore, they should know what is the aim of life and to educate human society. There is a whole Vedic literature, of which the Bhagavad Gita is the quintessence. The Supreme Personality of Godhead orders that there must be four divisions in human society: a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth class, like that. And the first must be idle. If the whole society is full of rogues, thieves, drunkards, cheaters, and demons, where where is their question of decent government? There must be division so the whole lower class men may aspire to be second class men. So far we are concerned, we are trying to train first class men. How much great responsibility we have to follow regulative principles, chant the Veds, live with personal character, etc. Regulative principles means to especially execute devotional service in terms of the revealed scriptures under the direction of the spiritual master. By fulfilling the regulative principles, you come to the platform of spontaneous love for Krishna. Spontaneous love for Krishna is there already but is covered by the influence of Maya. The regulative principles are a device how to overcome the influence of Maya and come to the platform of spontaneous love for Krishna. If we want to exist as first class men in society, all our students must be induced to follow the regulative principles. One should think one shouldn't think artificially he has come to the spontaneous platform. This is Sahajiism. The GBC must be vigilant by following the regulative principle and teach by idle character the presidents of the center, and the presidents by the idle character must teach the others, and then automatically all the members of the whole institution will be idle to the human society. Then we can dictate to administrators or sometimes take hold of the administration. In the absence of the competent leader, we may take the post, but we must be very careful in the flow of political movement. We may not forget our idle life. For example, Parasaram was a Brahmin, but when he found the Kshatriyas were mismanaging, he killed them 21 times, and some of them fled to European countries. This is the history. So far we are concerned, we shall keep ourselves in the idle Brahminical position, and if need be, if no Kshatriya or Vaishya is there, we can take up their work as emergency. Our business is to create idle Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, but beyond that, our real business is to keep ourselves as idle Brahmins. If we are not idle, we cannot create others as idle. Training is required for the first, second, and third classes of social constitution. Persons who are not fit to being advanced by training are Shudras or less than that. At the present moment in the whole state, they are Shudras and less than that. There is no idle Brahmanas or Kshatriyas, but there are four divisions. But these four divisions are imperative. So our business is to keep fit as Brahmanas and to train others to be idle Kshatriyas and Vaishyas for advancing the whole society. As Krishna says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Tamal Krishna Goswami is going to Los Angeles and I shall give him instructions to join Madhudvisha Swami, Balimardhan and Jayatirtha and reform the deficiencies. As soon as there is a little deficiency, we must repair it and it will create a big hole and the ship will drown. So I have said keep fit. So I saw this Vrindavan Chandra and Prajapati as a little sentimental through without thoroughly understanding. Without following the regulative principles, advancement is doubtful and one may fall at any moment. As for the drugs, not just one party but everyone was involved. Our process is to reform. Everyone is under the clutches of Maya, and if we follow the regulative principle, we can get out and come to spontaneous love. A diseased man is always under the clutches of disease. But if he follows the prescribed orders given by the physician, he can be cured. Now, how to reform? If we ask him to go away or kill them, if we ask him to go away, the whole society will be finished. So, in the hospital, many patients are there, and the attempt is made to cure them, not to tell them to go away or to kill them. They try their best to cure them. If they tell them to get out of the hospital or if they kill them, that is easy. Initiation should be given as a future hope, but we should be careful for the second initiation. As recommended by the president or GBC, they should only do so when they are quite confident of the man. Otherwise, he should not be recommended. If you follow this principle, it will be successful. Every day I am getting requests for second initiation, but I do not know I do not know. The responsibilities goes to the presidents who pick them. Unless they are thoroughly convinced, second initiation should not be given. In the beginning, he may be a little lenient, but if someone falls down after being initiated, he should not be credited with second initiation.
Such a long letter. I was just wondering if Prabhupada had so much of patience also in order to reply to his disciples. So it's amazing how Prabhupada has led an example. Yeah, so here we can see that how he was so heavy with his God brothers. So many harsh words he has used. So we should not misconstrue those words and the statements. We should have the utmost respect for his God brothers also. But what Prabhupada basically wanted is that we should not take guidance from them because they had a different mood and they emphasized different things. If we would have taken advice and guidance from them, then we would have got confused. So exactly this is what happened actually when Prabhupada left. So later, many of his disciples, they started going to Gaudiya Math and they started hearing from different sannyasis and gurus. And then later on, they got confused and they started feeling that this is not Prabhupada. This is whatever they are speaking. It's not Prabhupada. It's not. They are not representing Prabhupada. So then again, many of them came back to ISKCON, but some of them they permanently joined also. So Prabhupada was very careful. He was very cautious that although he tried his best to cooperate with his God brothers and he asked them to preach also, none of them helped Prabhupada in his preaching mission. But later on, Prabhupada himself he realized that if you mix with my God brothers, then you will be confused. So better you don't associate with them. So in that sense, Prabhupada actually used very harsh words so that we can stay away. And it will be beneficial for our spiritual life also. Because the role of the guru is not to confuse, but it is to actually clear the confusion, right? So here we can say that how Prabhupada is so heavily criticizing his God brothers. There are many instances like that. In fact, today also, I had shared the same thing in the similar context. Let me just read. Yeah, just a small paragraph of his letter. My dear Vishwakarma, this is 9th November 1975. Please accept blessings. I am in due receipt of letter. So now I have issued orders that all my disciples should avoid all of my God brothers. They should not have any dealings with them, nor even correspondence, nor should they give them any of my books, or should they purchase any of their books. Neither should you visit any of their temples. Please avoid them. So this is 9th November 1975. What is the date of this letter? I think maybe around 94. Yeah, 94, 28 April. So you see how Prabhupada was consistent right from 1974 onwards, or probably before that also. And till 1975, Prabhupada had the same opinion. But if you also did apologize to them when Prabhupada was disappearing. So most of his God brothers, they came to meet him and Prabhupada started apologizing to each of them. And then they all said that, okay, you have not committed any offense. It's just because you are an acharya, you are teaching by example and you are preaching. So we understand that, right? But at the same time, one time Prabhupada also said that one of my God brothers has gone back to Godhead because he has pleased his Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Now, Prabhupada actually even called him as a black snake, right? But still, Prabhupada said that he went back to Godhead. So that, that's why disciple, they got confused. And they asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, you said this, but you are saying that he went back to Godhead. So Prabhupada said, because he pleased the spiritual master, he went back to Godhead. So we cannot, it's a Vaishnava etiquette, we cannot actually comment or we cannot criticize our Guru's God brothers because they are at the level of Guru for us and we should maintain that position also. It's just for our benefit that we should try to avoid their association. Okay. All right. Okay, so we can close now. This is 16th of July, right? Okay. Unfortunately, so with this we are ending Prabhupada Leela. We are closing this chapter now, and will not be having further sessions because we. So I, as I discussed in the beginning, I'm thinking of stopping all the classes now, and even the CC Madhya class also we will stop now. I just wanted to enter a different format of giving classes, and chapter 8 I think of Madhya Leela we can finish it maybe in one or two classes, and then what I would prefer is that devotees they arrange something, um, you know then I would be happy to give class also on a special topic. Uh, so henceforth you are all free. You don't have any other commitment on weekends. You can give your commitments to wherever you want to now. And yeah, there is we'll be closing the sessions now. I just want to experiment. That's the only reason. So if you have any engagement for me once in a month, you can let me know. I'll be happy to help you, and we'll always be in touch. Obviously, whenever you have any questions or you want to ask something, then definitely you can write to me. But I just wanted to take a break and wanted to experiment. Like because we have been doing the regular sessions since a long time, and so now I think I want to enter in a phase where we want to take good amount of space and do it occasionally, like once in a month or something. So anyways, it's up to devotees now. If they would like to organize something, we can do once in a month, or or if you have, like, if each and every devotee is organizing something, then maybe it can happen every week also. But if devotees are not able to organize, then also it's okay. Maybe it can happen after 2 or 3 months also. We'll see about that. So any devotee, they have any comments or questions on this, or you'd like to share something?
For how long do you want to experiment this way?
Yeah. Well, maybe for some time at least, maybe a couple of months. I mean, what do you think? What do you feel? Do you want it to be continued, or like you have some other commitments? You want to give priority to some other commitments? Like,
I mean, at least through this thing, I was reading Prabhupada's letters because sometimes I don't get time to read it when you send it on the group. But at least on the classes, it was good that we were reading it. And CC, there are many people who are taking classes, but I was only doing it with you because the timing and the timing was good for me, and the day was also majorly okay with me because a lot of them have it on weekends, and I'm quite busy on weekends with some other stuff and everything. So yeah, I would like it to be continued, but then it completely depends on you. Like if there are some
so,
other things pressing, then it's fine.
So CC, who is conducting CC classes?
I mean, it's not like a CC class like how we discuss it, but it's just like a reading that Mukund Mala Prabhu does. He does it every day, but I am not able to ever join his class because the timing doesn't suit me, and it's just a reading. It's not that any discussion happens unless some important thing comes up. And then there is there is one more devotee. Rupulas Prabhu is only doing Bhagavatam and all that right now, but in between he even does CC sometimes. That's what someone told me. There's another devotee also who's doing it, but I don't know. I don't have the details or anything of that sort. I mean, this was in July or something that I came to know about it, but then it's very long time. I don't know whether it started or it's continuing or what. I don't think it was in Bombay. It was in another city, but it was an online thing, so anyone could join it from anywhere. So I'm not sure. Um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, okay. So other devotees, you want to comment something?
Yes, Prabhuji, we actually agree with what Mataji also said. That we usually don't read, but when like this in this kind of forum, we be able to read the letters. That's, yeah.
Okay. So you okay? Um, and what about CC? You have any comments about that?
Yeah, we'll be having it, right, Prabhuji? Like once in a month, you said, right? We'll be continuing it, or
Um, yeah, I mean, I have to think about it. Um, so I do understand about especially about the CC class because that's a continuation of our. I mean, we have done Adi Leela completely and Madhya Leela also. We are doing it regularly, but there are many reasons actually, and like unfortunately, I'm not able to share the reasons also for why I have decided this. Definitely, it's an experiment, but that experiment has many reasons behind it. So, uh, yeah, we can do it once in a month at least, the CC class. That's okay. And um, yeah, the Prabhupada Leela class, I don't think I want to do it regularly. Um, yeah, so I mean, I definitely love to go through all of them, but then there is a lot of other things that is not like somehow allowing me to continue, um, and I don't know what to like how to explain it to devotees. Uh,
Yeah, it's
so
okay, Prabhu. You don't need to share everything. It's, as long as you're fine with it, I think we'll be
yeah,
fine with it. Whatever your
it's
decision.
fine. Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah, but I think I would appreciate if devotees can also organize, they can come up with something in the future. Uh, if you are all able to organize something amongst your devotee friends or even amongst um, different groups that you are connected to, or maybe on behalf of temple, so that definitely I will be able to give class. Mm, okay. So any comments, Aritra Prabhu? Do you have any comments? I think he is not there. So okay, all right. Let me stop.